Hello, hello, welcome back to Loki's Librarian. If you are new here, welcome. I am your librarian, Katrina, and I do a book review a week, mixing up a cocktail while I review it. It's called Books and Booze. This month we have 5 Sundays in September, so I am starting my month with a fiction book, and this week it is not ready, Bias Incident by Ari H. Mendelson, billed as the world's most politically incorrect novel. The accompanying cocktail is Tequila Mocking Goat. It is 1.5 ounces of reposado tequila, 3/4 ounce spicy ginger syrup, a 1/2 ounce of lime juice, 4 ounces of soda water, cilantro and lime leaf to garnish, although I left the garnish off because half the time I don't bother. There is a recipe to make the spicy ginger syrup, which I'll include in the notes. So let's do this. The hero of our story is Jeff Jackson, who was homeschooled growing up and is now entering adulthood on the college campus of Tinsley College. And I mean, he's excited. Who wouldn't be, right? He's off to live his life and join adulthood at a small private college. All the brochures promised him academic freedom to study what he wants, and he's pretty sure he's going to be seeking a classically liberal education, meaning studying kind of like the founding fathers did, philosophy, ancient history, politics, languages, etc. So he's excited to start his adult life, and he's taken out a $38,000 loan to do this. That goes into the mixer, not into there, because it's a small private liberal arts college. It's very fucking expensive. $38,000 a year would have been a bargain a decade ago when this book was, or 14 years ago when this book was written. Only like many colleges today, Tinsley is more interested in the liberal portion of the classically liberal education than they are the, education part of it, or classical part of it. And it leans more towards requiring classes that end in studies, like women's studies, WMYNS, because you've got to separate the women from the men. Peace studies, pornographic cinema studies, garbage classes. Garbage classes. Oh no, I have to eyeball this because there's no marker for 3/4 ounce. He opts to take a class entitled Anthrogynology, which is what used to be anthropology and was renamed to be more inclusive. No, the note from the author, no class has actually been named this yet. It was kind of a tongue-in-cheek dig at how ridiculous modern campuses are becoming in their search for inclusivity, especially when their actions show that they are anything but inclusive. And people tend to forget that, actions talk and bullshit walks. Well, a lot of bullshit going on in this campus. Jeff quickly comes to realize this when during his dorm orientation he asks a simple question and is rudely shut down by the dorm leader. Oh shoot, what did I say is a 1/2 ounce of lime? 1/2 ounce of lime, okay. I should be doing fresh lime, but I have a headache today because I was cleaning my sewing area yesterday, and all the dust has pretty much wrecked my sinuses and given me a migraine. So here's hoping tequila knocks it out. We'll see. This bit's shaken, so I'm going to pause real quick and shake this up because it's not a very long review, because I don't like to give away the endings. So his next challenge, of course, happens during his anthrogynology class. And he is expecting at least the chance at a reasonable debate with the teacher, with the professor. Yeah, so much for the Collins class. Jesus Christ, there's no way I'm fitting 4 more ounces in there. He's expecting like a reasoned debate with a logical adult. One might guess how that happens. And he's expecting a reasonable debate regarding the curriculum, and this is again shut down by this time by the professor of the class, who on grading Jeff's first essay immediately denigrates Jeff as advocating to, quote, pray the gay away, which is nowhere in the essay. I know this is not just because, Jeff protests his innocence on this matter, but because Mendelson quite wisely included what the essay was. Oof. Yeah. Couldn't quite get it all in the Collins class. I'll have to top it off after I'm done with this. You do get to read the essay, although it's more as an addendum on the back of the book, but you can read it if you want to. And no, nowhere in there does he say to pray the gay away. But this essay sparks basically all of Jeff's problems for the rest of the book. Now, Jeff is rightfully engaged about the F on his essay and how this might affect his overall grade. And while going out with a friend, sees one of his classmates, and teacher's pet, incidentally, the self-described homosexual Carl Fitzgerald, writing on his car with soap. Now, this isn't going to be permanent damage, but it is still graffiti, it is still vandalism, and Jeff knows damn well that Carl was writing breeder on his car, which, as trans issues have shown us over the last few years, we all know that breeder is very much a pejorative against heteronormativity, quote unquote. Well, it's drinkable. Top it off there. Unfortunately for Jeff, he interrupted Carl before Carl could actually get the whole word out, so when Jeff files a bias incident against Carl, the school decides this was not a hate crime because Carl could have been writing any word that began with BRE. Could have been writing bread lines. Something not insulting and rude. Now, in the interim, Jeff, who had had one successful date with a girl he was interested in, gets shut down by the girl because Carl had a friend of his pretend to be Jeff's high school girlfriend who Jeff beat up. Now, Jeff, if you'll recall from my first sentence, was homeschooled. Tells the girl he didn't have a high school girlfriend, he was homeschooled. And Carl beat him to that by saying that Jeff would claim exactly that. So the girl gets shut down. Jeff's depressed about the girl. He's confused about his F in class, and he's pissed the school does not apparently take bias incidents seriously when you're a white straight man. Any of this sounding familiar yet, everybody? Unless the white straight man is the instigator. Come back to that in just a minute. So Jeff is talking to his best friend Tom, and the two of them come up with a classic college prank. And this has been depicted in movies since the 1950s, right? They decide that they're going to go buy a fainting goat from a local farmer and put it in Carl's dorm room during one of the dorm parties. And they pull it off. They get the goat in there, the goat faints, goat craps all over the room, but no real damage is done. Carl immediately files a bias incident against Jeff, despite literally zero evidence that Jeff is the one who put the goat in the room. The school decides to open an investigation against Jeff, and he is given a date and time of his hearing, which is a completely closed hearing, no attorneys allowed. All he's allowed is a faculty advisor. Does any of this sound familiar? All of this is straight out of news stories about Title IX violations. It's fucking absurd. Now, he finds a faculty advisor. It's somebody he actually likes, so the faculty advisor is a good guy. He's not one of the ones who's been sucked into ideology. And even though attorneys are not allowed during the actual hearing, the advisor gets him in touch with a lawyer who helps him figure out his best course of defense and how to effectively cross-examine whatever witnesses come his way. And Jeff does all his prep work he possibly can, and then the day of, his faculty advisor is sick, and he is sent a replacement who seems sweet, and the tribunal accepts her in the advisor's place. But this obviously throws Jeff off his game because he was expecting the guy who's been guiding him the whole time there, and then he's not there all of a sudden. And Jeff does his absolute best, but the odds are seriously stacked against him, and the verdict is basically a foregone conclusion from the opening remarks of the prosecution, if you will. Now, despite all of this, it does have a happy ending, and yes, the good guys win, although I'm not going to tell you how, because I don't want to give away the ending. Astute readers, I have to fix that typo right now, or I won't be able to, or I'll forget to fix it before I post it on my blog. Astute readers are going to catch on fairly early, and while I caught on part of it, I was still pleasantly surprised by the denouement. I didn't catch all of it. So I caught part of it, and I was like, okay, I kind of know what's going on here. And then the final bomb drop was like, oh, nice, nicely played. But what's startling about this entire book is that this was written 14 years ago. All right, we're in 2024, copyright's 2011 for the cover art, and at least part of it was written in 2011 because as he did with his Kingmaker series, he included a long list of the sources that he pulled from, and at least one of them was pulled from 2011. But that's the most recent news article. So it doesn't include, Jordan Peterson's launch to fame in 2017 for protesting the forced use of Z0 pronouns, which are in this book, funnily enough. That's actually what made me look at the copyright on this book. I'm like, Z0, really? And I went and I looked, I'm like, oh, this was well before any of that bullshit happened. The campus protests, the denial of how Iran treats homosexuals, all are included, all remain current events. On an Amazon review I did for Mendelson's Kingmaker series, I referred to him as the premier psychic of our day, and I didn't realize just how long he's held that role. This book was entertaining. It was a fast read. I read it in a couple of days. It does get a little frustrating. You definitely get that nerve clenching, like, oh my god, how is he going to get out of this? Because the deck is so clearly stacked against him. And like I said, the denouement was pleasantly surprising. And that's it for this week. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye.